Back on the broadcast, let's get into this here because those $1,400 relief checks, they're hitting bank accounts this weekend. So if you were to identify one specific thing in this bill that is life-changing for Americans beyond this $1,400 check, what would that be?
Alex, it's the child allowance. Any family that's working class, middle class, that has kids is going to get $3,000 for every child that they have. That's money that can go for food, for clothing, for school supplies. It's a lifeline for many families, and it's transformative, not just now, but I expect it will be permanent. The Columbia University estimates it's going to cut child poverty in half. That's transformative policy.
Oh, yeah, I want to pick up on that because experts are backing that up. The American Rescue Plan reduces poverty overall by a third, child poverty, to your point, by more than half. Republicans were unanimous in their opposition to this package. Why are Republicans voting against lifting people out of poverty?
Alex, it's perplexing. I mean, when you have actually Senator Romney, who has a plan that's almost identical to what we've put forward and passed, I don't see how he could not vote for it and how no Republicans could vote for it. One has to assume it's just political, that they didn't want to vote for something that President Biden was for. And here's what's sad. I voted for every COVID relief package that President Trump put forward. There were things I disagreed, but I said, no, we have to get relief for the American people. Many Democrats did the same thing. It's really disappointing and sad that not a single Republican crossed the aisle to vote for relief for the American public.
Have those Republicans forgotten that they were elected to do this job by their constituents? Because to this point, USA Today reports Republicans locked arms against Biden's massive COVID-19 relief bill. Now they plan to make it a top election issue. Really? How do they sell that? What's your response to that? Who comes out on top in 2020 if this indeed is a key focus?
They're misreading the moment. They're using the old playbook that they used against President Obama, which is obstruct, obstruct, obstruct. Here's what's changed. We have a crisis. We have a healthcare crisis. People desperately need these checks. These checks are extraordinarily popular. We won the Georgia Senate races largely on the promise to deliver people checks. I think this was a colossal miscalculation by the Republican Party. If they wanted to oppose other parts of President Biden's agenda, perhaps that would have been strategic. But to oppose COVID relief, a bill that is 70, 80% popularity, it just was a blunder.
Okay. When you think back to Thursday, President Biden giving his first primetime address there, do progressives like what they're seeing from this president at this point? We're just a bit more than 50 days into his first term.
I've got to be honest, Alex, and you know, I didn't support the president in the primary. I thought that was one of his finest speeches. He really exuded a decency and empathy. You can tell he understands the sense of loss that the country has experienced. And then the end, where he talked about Americans can do anything. This is our country is resilient. I mean, it was inspiring to finally hear an American president summon us to the common good. And so obviously there are policy differences. We're going to continue to push for a $15 minimum wage, expansion of Medicare. But just as an American citizen, I felt pride listening to President Biden on Thursday night.
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt the same. Let me ask you about something that was not in the final bill, the $15 minimum wage increase. And last time you and I spoke, you told me that if it wasn't in this reconciliation, it would need to be in the next one. But after seeing 8 Democratic senators vote against the amendment to include it, do you think that minimum wage hike, that it can pass among Democrats through reconciliation?
Yes, Alex, I do. And the reason is that if it's part of a broader package, you will not see the same senators vote against it. And we have said, the progressives, that we're open to compromise. We're open to having tax credit for small businesses because we recognize that small businesses need assistance. We're open to the schedule of years for small businesses. We're open to building a coalition, but we have to do it with 51 votes. Here's the point. If you can't get one Republican to vote for giving checks to the American people, then it is naive to expect 10 Republicans to suddenly vote to increase wages. Wages haven't been raised, the minimum wage in this country, since 2009. It's still stuck at $7.25. We have to deliver, and the way to do it is with 51 votes.
Look, it seems, though, that the amount is what is the issue, because we heard Senator Joe Manchin saying, look, there's not one senator who doesn't want to raise the minimum wage. But the debate is $15 versus what he has suggested, $11. So is there room to compromise on this?
I just don't think $11 is sufficient anywhere in this country. And what we can compromise on, in my view, is the tax credits. What we can compromise is the schedule of when the raise goes into effect. But here's the point. We can even have a dialogue with Senator Manchin. The first thing, and other senators, the first thing we need to know is that it's going to be part of the reconciliation. Because if it's 60 votes, it's theoretical, and no one has an incentive to get serious about passing it. If we make a commitment now that we are going to have it in reconciliation, that the parliamentarian's decision was wrong, and I say that with respect for the parliamentarian, I just don't think that you can allow the repeal of the ACA through reconciliation or drilling in ANWR and not allow the minimum wage, then we can get to a consensus.
Congressman, you've been pretty vocal about seeing Senate Democrats eliminate the filibuster, especially as the House is repeatedly passing legislation it appears to have little chance of getting through the Senate and getting any Republican Senate votes. Eliminating the filibuster would likely get bills passed, but the tables would be turned in a GOP majority Senate. Is that what is the biggest challenge to consider?
Alex, the reality is we have policies in this country, such as an increase in the minimum wage, such as eliminating student debt, such as expanding health care, that are popular, 70, 80%, that have Republican and Democratic support, and they still aren't getting through. Something is deeply broken. When you have the PRO Act, which is strengthening labor unions, supported by many Republicans, passing the House and can't get through the Senate, something has to change. I believe we have to eliminate the filibuster. I think it's worth the risk if the Republicans have a majority. But right now, the biggest complaint you hear is Washington can't get anything done. It's not because of the House. It's because the Senate, there isn't everything has to take 60 votes. And that's just not the way for a modern democracy to function.
All right. California Congressman Khanna, I always love our chat, so come see me again soon. Thank you so much.